Hello, everyone. Welcome to round number 11 of the FIDE Candidates 2022 in Madrid. And one of the highlights of this round is Liren's third win in a row against Fabiano Caruana. Right, Ding is definitely catching up with Nepo. But then 8 points, Ding has 6.5, going to the last 3 rounds. I don't know. We will see. Can Ding still take the candidates away from Nepo? Well, that's anybody's take in the last 3 games. But let's check this game out against Fabi. Fabi went for e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. Bishop e5, a6, so we have the Roy Lopez. Bishop a4, knight f6, castles, bishop 7, e1, b5, right? Bishop b3 castles, a4, bishop b7, d3, d6, everything normal. Bishop d2. Okay. Here, white could also go for c3, knight bd2, knight f1, knight g3 idea. Caruana went for bishop d2, stopping knight a5 at the moment. King d7, knight c3, knight a5. Once again, knight a5 have to play. b4, c5. Okay, this is nice. Instead of going that knight to d2 to f1, g3, you can go at c3, e2, g3, which is just the same route. Yeah. Okay, knight g3 or kb8. Knight h4. Here's an interesting line here. Knight f5. Yeah. Now, if black goes bishop d8, white can go for bishop h6 here. Yeah. Let's say you take the bishop, queen d2 or queen c1. It's possible. Attacking that pawn on h6. Okay, let's take a look at king h8. Queen takes h6, right? Now, such an image. You have to go to g8. Knight g5. Now the bishop and the knight is attacking f7 here. So black could play b3, but white will just ignore the threat with b3. You take the bishop, rook to g3. Why rook g3? Let's take a look at bishop takes e4, for example. Knight takes h7. You take on h7, there's rook g8, g8, and queen g7 is made. So knight f5 was actually playable here. If bishop d8 once more, bishop h6, and if you go for takes queen d2, and let's take a look at knight e8, yeah? Queen takes h6, you cover it with c4 or b3, doesn't matter. Rook has to go to e3. Knight c6 or queen e6. There was a game with knight c6. If queen e6, knight takes e5. Queen takes, knight f5. King h8, knight d7. And white is definitely winning here. Although, if you go for knight f5, black will maybe black can simply just play, I don't know, d8. Yeah, so if you go knight g5, then d5. So black has to just give up that bishop, or else no point with bishop h6 if you don't go to d8. All right, so Caruana here went for knight h4, g6, bishop h6, rook f8. Knight hf5 is interesting. Well, if you capture that knight takes on f5. Let's say you exchange the bishop on f8. Queen goes to d2. You go king h8, king g5. It's game over. G7 square. Going to be mate. So bishop d8 and a move, knight g7. I actually thought that they will go for repetition here with knight f5. It'll be a draw. But because of the tournament situation, Caruana had to play on. Because you cannot simply take the knight. It's the same idea. Knight takes. What else can you do here? What else? You go d5, for example. Yeah. Rook e3. What to do here? Rook e8. G3, king, bishop, knight a6 is mate. So you really cannot take the knight. But because of the tournament situation, instead of moving back the knight, Caruana went for h3. So Ding had to play b3, takes. If Ding wants to keep his bishop, he can capture with the c pawn. Yeah, but black should be better here with knight e6. So the bishop is just dead in a2. So takes, bishop c6. I would say black is slightly better in this position with this pawn structure. Yeah. Rook c1, king h8. The threat would be knight to g8, driving away the bishop. The bishop is protecting the knight in g7. Okay, so knight e6 takes, bishop takes f8, bishop a5, hitting the rook on e1, and the rook attacks the bishop on f8. Bishop goes back, take a rook. The queen moves away from defending the pawn. Rook takes. It was also fine to capture with the queen. Queen a5, just b6 back. Knight g8, maybe a better version of the game. Okay, but rook takes is just the same anyways. Knight g8 and bishop b7. Rook is attacking both, so the queen has to move back. f6. Nice anticipation by Ding. f4 takes. g5, I don't like g5. d5 is better here. Rook takes e5, d takes e4. Let's say d takes e4. Bishop takes e4. This should be fine. Over g5, bishop e3, queen e5. Knight f5, knight e7. The problem here for black, if let's say black captures on b2, is knight takes d6. Rook takes d2, there is knight f7. That one was tricky. Yeah? Takes e5. Knight simply protects d3. If you go this way, knight c4. Just in time. That would have been a benign sequence. Ding anticipated that one. Well calculated. Knight e7 takes. Queen c to attack the rook, rook b6. Here Caruana went rook f1. Here's an interesting detail in this position. White could have won with b4. Okay, what's the point of b4? Now, takes, bishop d2, the rook goes back a5. If the rook, let's say, goes to b5, then only then you go rook f1, yeah? And then bishop c3. If the rook goes to c6, for example, as in what happened in the game, you can go queen b2, king g8, rook to b1, the rook protects, and then rook f1. Now, black cannot protect that f6 pawn, because if you go queen e5, there's bishop c3. What's the difference when Caruana went for rook f1, king g7, a5, rook c6, bishop d2, rook c8? The rook was able to protect that important pawn. Compare it to b4 first. Of course, the pawn cannot capture. Bishop will just take the rook. Bishop d2, a5, queen b2. Okay, the point of king g8 is that with queen b2, it's not only, there's a pin here. So bishop takes is coming. Yeah? So king has to move. Rook b1 first, rook c7, and then rook. Pretty big difference. Here, Ding was able to protect f6. h6. Now it's almost equal. Takes, king g8. All right, takes. The more pieces you exchange, the higher chance of black to go for equality. Why I wanted to play on, fight, yeah. It's force. Okay, queen f5, queen f4, sorry, g3, rook h8. It's a sudden turn, yeah, the sudden turn. I mean, the pressure, it's the candidates. What matters is only first place, nothing else. And playing for a win against top players is not so easy. Mistakes happen. And here's what happened in the game. Caruana losing a pawn. Now he tries to go for the opposite colored bishop with queen d4, but Ding keeps his queen. Bishop c6, pressure on g2, pressure on a5. Okay, queen g4, bishop e4. It takes the timing of the take, and then f5. Typical Ding Liren. His king is the strongest piece for Ding. G4, d7, rook d7, nice. Now the rook is trying to go for d2 and hit g2 with the bishop here. Okay, bishop d3, blocking the rook. Bishop b5. I like this bishop here, stable. Stabilizes the position. The bishop protects the pawn on a6 as well. Rook e7, now rook e2. Rook to d2, rook on the second rank, and then bishop d3 here. Caruana resign. Okay, let's take a look at bishop d6 protecting that pawn. We have king h3. All right, what do we do? Okay, let's say you keep this bishop on e5, for example. To g2, king has to go back to h1, and now bishop e4 should be game over. Yeah, the g3 is coming, mate. And with that, Ding goes 6.5. Trailing Nepomniachtchi with 1.5. It's tough. The last 3 games, Nepo with 1.5 lead. I think it's big, but it's still, I don't know. Ding can still catch if one bad day. He just needs a one bad day, or even one bad day. Nepo still has this 0.5. Yeah. 1 or 2 bad days for Nepo, Ding can catch up. So it will be an interesting finish in the last 3 games between, it's just a 2-horse race between Nepo and Ding. There's a sudden turn of events. It was Caruana and Nepo earlier, but now Ding is trailing. All right, so that was it, guys. Round number 11 of the candidates. And then last 3 games, anything can still happen. Will it be a rematch of Nepo and Carlsen? Or will Ding catch up with Nepo? That will be the story in the next 3 days of the candidates. I'm not sure if I could get a coverage later, because I will be having my flight to Dubai in the evening. But I will try to make it up maybe tomorrow morning once I reach Dubai for the highlights of round number 12. All right, that was it, guys. Thank you for supporting our channel, Charles Mas Chess and Charles Mas Entertainment on Facebook and YouTube. This is Coach Oliver. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.